uh, 10:30. I'm sorry, 9:30 Mountain Time, 10:30 Central, and 11:30 on the East Coast. And my name is Matt Bogosian, Executive Director of AMCC, and welcome. This is our consistent weekly check-in of regional leaders and BFFs from federal agencies and private players, NGOs, all working to strengthen the American project from the bottom up, focused on manufacturing. Michelle Burris from the Century Foundation, who usually kicks us off, can't make it this morning. But if she were here, she'd be saying, please put your name and affiliation in chat. Throughout the call, it's only 30 minutes, right? You guys have a lot going on, cool things that we might not get to or talk about that are happening in your region that other regions can benefit from, or our BFFs could benefit from hearing about. Put it in the chat. I mean, let's use that thing. So we got to make the most, and like we have for almost a decade now, make a most of the 30 minutes that we have, to share what works, share challenges, raise issues. We want to continue to spawn the kind of better practices bottom up for manufacturers across the country. So as you know, we bucket the ecosystem of support into what we call the big six areas. They overlap with one another, of course, but we do this so we can get our arms around the complex system of strengthening American manufacturing, so that from whatever perch we happen to occupy, we can add value to our own organizations and the greater ecosystem for the greater good. So these weekly calls every week, 30 minutes, they go hand in hand with the ever improving AMCC update newsletter that goes out at the end of each week. That AMCC update, you guys should share it in your own networks as broadly as it makes sense. It also serves as a platform for you to get the information out that you think is important. Like on these calls, you put something in the chat on these calls, you're sharing information, whatever. Send that to us by email too, so that we can evaluate whether or not we can weave it into the weekly AMCC update newsletter. So both those weekly events, the calls, we record most of the calls, and the newsletter, those also go onto our website, so there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can refer back to on the website, grab and share, whatnot. We have additional stuff, of course, aside from the call recordings and the weekly update. We have podcast links on there. We're doing these AMCC roadshows, as you know, around the country. So the reports of those roadshows are up there, and lots more. So, I'm going to highlight a few things as I do on these Monday calls from the last AMCC update, but then we're going to turn, as I said in the update, we're going to turn to talking about how do we get to kitchen tables? How do we get to parents and kids to have these conversations about the exciting opportunities for manufacturing in the 21st century. There are a lot of tactics out there, and we're excited today to have with us our AMCC intern, Olivia Liu, who heads up something called the Subordis Project, to talk about an upcoming event, talk about what she's doing, which is totally cool, and to include an upcoming event we're going to partner with her on in February. So there are other examples also of getting to kitchen tables that I talk about in the update, and we're going to talk about today. But before that, I want to highlight a few things that are in the update from last week. So, our BFFs from the Department of Energy, they have these industrial assessment centers. Those things are expanding, and man, they've got some money for manufacturers. They got a grant for 300 grand for up to 300 grand for energy assessments in manufacturing. That's a cool opportunity. EPA's got a $2 billion chunk of money for environmental and climate activities for disadvantaged communities that could be woven into your regional ecosystems. That's awesome. DoD has a new consortia for prototype production. I think that's relevant to so many regions around the country. Lots of information going out. AMCC and the National Governors Association. We have a February 7th webinar featuring some of our states, that are doing cool things: Mississippi, Connecticut, and Utah. Our BFFs from CREC have a couple of webinars, also with state examples, for like how do we have better alignment, this bottom up project that we're doing. Their webinars are on February 8th and February 15th. And David's dropping links and whatnot into the chat. So that's cool. Let's see, what else do we have? The road shows, AMCC road shows. We did a bunch last year. We've got a bunch on the board for this year. First coming up at the end of February in Alabama, March in Wisconsin. Great teamwork on both of those fronts. Thanks to our stakeholders in both of those jurisdictions. So we got a lot of others in the works. So co-creating those can really be helpful to bring your regional stakeholders together. So let us know if you want more on that. Lots of good stuff in the AMCC update every week. And thanks to David Van Sicklen, who takes really the laboring oar and putting so much of that together, taking the information from you guys, weaving it together. Also, thanks to Andrew Reamer from the Industry Studies Association. He puts out a super important kind of newsletter every week that we go through and pick and choose, what to include in our AMCC update. So thanks to Andrew for that. So that's it on the AMCC update. Let's see. I haven't been looking at the chat. So David, you've been dropping good stuff in there. And that's good. All right. Anything before I introduce Olivia? Anything else, David, that I've missed there?
No, Matt, let's go for it.
All right. Awesome. Well, welcome to Olivia Liu, a high school student who I'm going to let her introduce herself. She's an AMCC intern. We're partnering on cool stuff. This is an example of one way that we get to kitchen tables. And, it's like a great example of systems leadership. We've talked about systems leadership on these Monday calls quite a bit. So Olivia, welcome to the AMCC National 30-minute call. Introduce yourself and what we're doing together. Yeah.
Hi, so I'm Olivia Liu, and I'm a high school senior from Washington, D.C. For, I would say, 3 years in my high school career, I've really delved into America's manufacturing sector. So I've done some research on it, and now I'm really excited to be an intern with AMCC. And on the side, I also have a nonprofit called the Subortus Project, and the whole mission is to get more youth interested in joining the manufacturing workforce, showing them that manufacturing has changed a lot from, say, a century ago when the first industrial revolution happened, and just showing them that manufacturing can be a really fulfilling career path for anyone with any interests.
Great. Hey, Olivia, do you want me to put your slides up?
Oh, so I was thinking, is there a way I can share my screen so that
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, perfect. Great. So yes, this is my little presentation on how I got interested in manufacturing, what the Subortus project is, and then I'm also going to talk about our Manufacturing Day initiative, which we're working with AMCC to organize. Yeah. So For me, it started in the winter break of 10th grade when I read this book called Deaths of Despair and the Future of Capitalism. And it's written by two Nobel laureate economists. And the book basically compared the well being of rural and urban America across several socioeconomic indicators. And most striking to me was the disparity in educational attainment, which drastically affected an individual's health, vulnerability to substance use, general satisfaction with life, etc., income, job stability. And so I wanted to find a specific sector in these kind of regions of the economy in which a good education could prove life changing. So at the time, it was kind of the midst of COVID-19. So all over the news, I was reading about labor shortages and the subsequent supply chain issues in America's manufacturing sector. And the more I read about it, the more I became interested. And I eventually learned that all of the labor shortages were both due to COVID, but also due to the skills gap that was becoming very visible. So in January of 2022, I applied for a grant under a research fellowship established by my school. It's called the Vernet Jonas Fellowship. And so I received the funding, and then I spent the summer and fall of 2022 conducting interviews, attending trade shows, and visiting rural manufacturing towns such as Martinsville, Virginia. And I investigated the workforce development system in rural and Rust Belt America specifically. And I was really looking at how these regions are trying to prepare people for manufacturing jobs, especially because in these regions, manufacturing is making a revival. So one of my key takeaways from this project that I actually wasn't expecting to find when I started the project was that the American workforce needs more youth. Everyone I talked to would end up just telling me that. And the problem is a lot of youth get very limited exposure to manufacturing in school, and often they don't learn about the modern version of manufacturing. It's more just, as I said, in terms of like the Industrial Revolution and things like that. And when I was in school, all I learned about was how manufacturing is declining. I never learned about how it's reviving. So as a result, a lot of youth have outdated perceptions of the manufacturing sector. So in the fall of 2022, what I did was I gathered all of the transcripts from my interviews with economists, educators, nonprofit directors, etc. And I kind of consolidated them into a series of articles that you can actually find at the link listed on the slide. And they cover a wide span of topics from the technological trends in manufacturing, and then also just what exactly we can do to perhaps get more youth interested in manufacturing. Um, and then I wanted to take that analysis somewhere, and I wanted to figure out how I could make a difference with it, especially since I'm a member of the youth generation. And I think because youth are the focus of what I was finding, I felt like I wanted to do something about it. So I ended up founding the Subortus Project in January of 2023. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, and I lead it with 12 other high schoolers who are all across the country, and they come from very diverse communities and backgrounds. And our mission is just to create educational content, so newsletters, social media posts, and we're even working on a podcast right now. And it's all meant to be catered to youth and make manufacturing understandable to them and interesting to them. So we're trying to leverage our own experiences as youth to reach our peers. And we also just perform general outreach to various communities in America. So I thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about how I found 12 other people who are also young and interested in manufacturing. So what I did was I put out this little advertisement on Instagram. You can see it on the left there. That's exactly how I pitched my little project. And I actually ended up getting over 40 responses, which was really surprising in a really good way. And the link that I had listed under this advertisement led people to a forum. And I kind of was just curious to see what made people want to click on that link and find out more about the Subortus project. So one of my questions was, what about manufacturing interests you, and how do you see manufacturing or the Subortus project enriching your life and your interests in some kind of way? And before I switch the slides, on the right, you can see some of the people who I work with. So here you can read some of the quotes that people submitted. I just picked a few that I thought were really interesting and meaningful. So on the top, you can see some people have an existing interest and they think that education and STEM are, really integral to their interests. And then the second quote, you can see how one person was really interested in sustainability and they understood that manufacturing was a big part of promoting that. And then the third quote, I really liked. It was about how this girl has a familial connection to the manufacturing sector because it's what her grandparents used to survive in America. And then the fourth quote is someone who ran their own business and they just wanted to learn a little bit more about the supply chain. So, yeah, moving on to the Manufacturing Day, which is an upcoming initiative that the Subortus Project and AMCC are working on. Manufacturing Day is actually an initiative that was spearheaded by the Manufacturing Institute in Washington, D.C. And the goal is just to show youth that manufacturing has changed a lot and that it's become a very modern and technologically innovative field. So we're planning to hold it in the week after President's Day, which is on February 19th. So it'll be in late February. And the format is going to be a virtual speaker event for youth across the country. And we've worked closely with AMCC to set up this event. So thank you to David for reaching out to all of the guest speakers. And then also thank you to our guest speakers who include Matt Bogosian, Michelle Burris, Matt Fieldman, and Kelly Sowards for their participation. We really appreciate it. And the objective of our event is to show youth that anyone with any interests can be in manufacturing, which is why our panel of selected speakers have very diverse fields, but they all work in the same sector. So we're just trying to show youth that you will definitely find a fulfilling career in manufacturing, regardless of what you're already interested in. So yes, hopefully when we register our event, it'll show up on the official manufacturingday.com website, which is run by the Manufacturing Institute. But our registration link will eventually be linked on this page. And I believe all I had to do to get here was click on the host or find an event tab on the top. And we are currently building an audience for this event. And for the people who are working in the Subortus project, so the high schoolers that I'm working with, our plan of attack is kind of everyone is geographically spread out. So some people are in California, some people are in Virginia like myself, some people are in Texas. So it's really all over the map. And we're planning to just individually perform outreach to our communities so that our outreach is more personal and we are simultaneously serving our home communities by doing this. And we would love for everyone on this call to help us out if possible by spreading the word about this event. We are actually in the process of making a flyer that you can just forward to whatever sources you may think helpful. It'll include a little bit about the Subortus project, some helpful links for the other work that we do, but also a short description of the Manufacturing Day. And we will be following up with more detailed information with like the date, time, registration link, etc. And this is the contact info for the Subortus project on the top if you'd like to ask any questions about the Manufacturing Day and how you can help reach out. And then the second email is just my personal email. And then if you want to find general information about the Subortus project, the website's right there. And we also have a specific link that just talks a little bit about our manufacturing day. So yes, that is what's going on. And thank you so much for listening.
Oh, thank you, Olivia. Fantastic. You know, there's some questions that are coming into the chat. Jim asked a good one about what ages of youth is the Subortus project targeting? Yeah.
Yeah. So the Subortus Project is generally targeting middle and high schoolers because I think that's when people start to think a little bit about their career fields of choice and then also how when they start to develop their interests. So that's the primary target.
Yeah. So I see a comment there by Jennifer Snyder from the Alliance of American Manufacturers. Hi, Jennifer. This is fantastic, and you have a broad range of what you've seen out there on the playing field. Anything that you've seen like this Subortus project? Oh, she must be having some problems there. So
There we
let
go.
me.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay,
Matt,
sorry.
good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
I think this is fantastic, Olivia. Really great work. I'm interested in learning more about everything that you're doing and keeping in touch with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great stuff. There are some follow-up notes in there, Olivia, about the registration link when available and all of that.
And I'll just jump in really quick. Olivia and I will be sending around the final registration information and the flyer as they're ready, both through future Monday calls and through our newsletter will be the two places you can access those.
Hey, David, would you mind dropping in the chat? I think in the AMCC update, I was referencing something we learned about in the roadshow when we were in Pennsylvania about this Making Manufacturing Cool competition for high schoolers. And I think, Olivia, you're aware of that. Is that, in addition to the good work that you guys are doing already, what do you think of that kind of tactic? And is that something the Subortus Project and other middle school and high schoolers, will that resonate with them? Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that idea of like using different kinds of media to get people engaged. And we're actually working, I think we were partly inspired by that initiative to start our own thing where we want to have people kind of reflect on how manufacturing is part of their lives, whether by the economy in their hometown or familial connection or just thinking about where all the stuff they have comes from and then encouraging them to send that in the form like of a video or writing or art or something like that. So I feel like it's a very dynamic and effective medium.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, work we have to do in this area. I see Pam from the Department of Labor on here, and just wondering, what existing kind of initiatives like this, the federal government's Department of Labor might be supporting already. That we could tether this work to. Yeah.
Well, I would just say that it's been increasingly obvious to me. We do a lot of work on career information about occupations, but we actually used to have other sites and other publications that were focused on industry sectors, right? We used to have the Career Guide for Industries from Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we had something called Career Voyages at ETA. And then we got away from that. And it seems like we need to go back because I think that's where you would start. You don't start with a specific occupation. You start more with a sector. And so I've been trying to figure out how we need to do that, but I'll keep you posted.
Oh, it's awesome, Pam. You're so engaged and a great teammate on this to have these kinds of conversations. Because this, my goodness, if we were more successful in this one area of getting to kitchen tables, the positive ripple effect into the entire ecosystem would really be awesome. So yeah, a lot of good notes going in there. Matt Fieldman, you said you've got a Zoom account that Olivia could share if she needed that. That's nice. Oh, Jim, you had a question. Go ahead, Jim. Why don't you ask your question there? Oh, we can't hear you.
Go now.
Yeah, good.
Perfect. I was just asking if you're looking for additional students to work with you, either elsewhere around the country, or I didn't get the chance to go to your website yet, but we have a couple of youth committees that do involve youth as well as the manufacturers.
Yeah, we're always looking for more people to hop on. That'd be great.
And Jim, where are you?
Sorry, I'm with the Manufacturing Alliance of Chester and Delaware counties in southeastern Pennsylvania. And I also said I had access to 12 school districts to share her manufacturing day.
That's great.
Ours isn't until October 1st, so.
Right. I think that's the big, day, but every day is manufacturing day to us, Jim. Yeah, right. Rock and roll. Yeah. Okay. Other comments? David, you've been spending a lot of time with Olivia on there. Thank you for your work working with Olivia on this. Anything that you have that we should be hitting on this?
No, Matt, I think that we covered it all. I'll just say again that we'll follow up with the final registration link, ways to contact Olivia and the Subortus project, and ways to share this out to any high school groups, middle school groups that any of you all engage with, both on upcoming Monday calls and also in our newsletter. Those will be the best places to find it.
Is there an attendance goal?
That's a good question. We don't have a specific attendance goal yet. As Olivia kind of described, the more personalized touch of all of her colleagues reaching out directly to their peers is going to be a bit of a first time experiment to see how much audience we can generate.
Hey, Olivia, just Jesse dropped a piece in the chat. Jesse, you want to quickly say what that is? Yeah. I can't hear him. So why don't you grab that though, Olivia, and we can make sure we follow up on that. Oh, go ahead, Jesse. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Sorry,
Yeah.
I unmuted on my phone, but I didn't realize I had to also unmute on the computer. But so AMO, the old office in DOE had created this advanced manufacturing career map. Wasn't too well involved in that, but AMTO, the Advanced Materials and Manufacturing Technology Office, which is a kind of an offshoot or the next kind of iteration of AMO, is working to develop a new version of it that is kind of focused on our technology areas. And we'd love to meet with Olivia and her team to kind of learn how we can make it useful to her and her peers, really. We don't want it to be just isolated to those that are existing already in the manufacturing space. So that'd be something we'd love to do.
Awesome, Jesse. Well, thank you. That's a great follow-up connection, like it is with so many of you guys. Jim, you asked before we drop off, about this Navy connection. I just saw Admiral Mark Whitney, who's in our Merry Band in Virginia. He might be able to be helpful. Alan Baker and Mark Whitney are in Virginia, so that might be a good connection to help on your question. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so anybody else have anything for the good of the order? We're at the top of the hour, and we respect your time. We know you're busy out there strengthening the manufacturing ecosystem in our manufacturers and key industries. So keep up the good work this week, and you'll hear from us on the AMCC update at the end of the week, and then we'll see you next Monday. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a great week. Thanks, Olivia.
Yeah, thanks, Olivia.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone.